Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to give folks a couple of minutes. By minutes, I mean seconds. Couple of seconds to come in from the waiting room, log on, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you so much. Good morning for those of you who have just hopped on. We're going to give it about 20 more seconds, and then we will go ahead and get started with this morning's webinar. Thank you for joining us. All right, good morning. We are going to go ahead and get started as we have a full agenda this morning. Thank you for joining and welcome for our first Small Business Strong webinar of the year. My name is Amber Haskell, and I'm the Vice President and Executive Director of the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce Foundation, and I have the pleasure of overseeing our Small Business Strong initiative. Thank you again for joining for our energy efficiency solutions for your business. At the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce Foundation, we are dedicated to supporting small businesses across the Commonwealth through multiple initiatives, including our Small Business Strong Learning Series. First and foremost, we would like to thank the State Street Foundation for their continued support of Small Business Strong and their dedication to helping small businesses grow and thrive. I would also like to thank the Eversource team for partnering with us for today's virtual event. Before I kick it over to the team, I just have a couple of quick housekeeping items. Firstly, this webinar is being recorded and will be shared on the Chamber Foundation's YouTube page shortly after the presentation. You will also be sent the link afterwards. For those of you who are joining us live, please submit your questions through the webinar Q&A feature that's on the bottom of your screen, making sure to send to all panelists. Or you can send any questions to foundation@bostonchamber.com. I will be on at the end to put as many of these questions to the team as possible. And now I will pass it over to Amar Brown to kick off today's presentation.
Thank you, Amber. Before I get started, I would like to thank the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event, as well as Zach Lipper and his team from National Grid, and my small business, Pat Owens, and the rest of the small business team from Eversource. Mass Save is the joint effort between all of the PAs in Massachusetts to assist with bringing energy efficiency to the businesses and to utility customers. This slide just shows the team behind the Mass Save program. It's made up of all the PAs. So no matter where you are, who's your PA, there's usually a PA for you, and there's usually an energy efficiency program for you. Our agenda for today, first, we're going to give a quick program overview. From there, we'll speak about navigating the program, the pathways through the small business program. We'll speak about some of the enhanced incentive offers offered by the program, including our nonprofit offer, our landlord-tenant offer, and of course, our CDO offerings. We have Pat Owens to speak about our CDO offerings. We'll speak about the financing offerings for the programs. This just assists with making it more beneficial to the customers when it comes to completing the energy efficiency programs offered by Eversource. What is the Small Business Energy Advantage Program? The Small Business Energy Advantage Program is part of the overall Mass Save program. This part of the program serves the small business sectors in the Mass Save area. For the more of the ins and outs of the programs, I'm going to pass it over to Zach Lippert from National Grid, and he's going to go into some of the ins and outs of the program. Over to you, Zach.
Thanks, Amar. I'm Zach Lippert with National Grid. As you know, National Grid and Eversource overlap to both support the Boston area. We have, in recent years, really worked to be collaborative with Eversource and National Grid to make it as seamless and effortless for the customers like yourselves to participate in the Mass Save program. For the small business, offering, the energy services approach, we see three main benefits there. It's education, financial incentives, and ease of use. Our knowledgeable contracted vendors will work with you to understand your energy usage within your building and how you can optimize your facility to use less energy while still meeting all of your needs of your business. Our small business program has very generous incentives to begin with. So the customer pay portion of an energy efficiency project is generally very low. And the customer pay portion, we also have options to finance. So if you don't have the capital up front to make that investment, we are able to provide you with financing options that make it even more attractive to do these energy efficiency and decarbonization projects. We'll go into a little more detail about the financing and incentives later in the presentation. And then lastly, just highlighting on the ease of use, we have a turnkey approach. So the same company that we've contracted with who's going to come out and do that energy assessment at your facility, looking at all of your energy consuming devices and identifying ways to use less energy. Those are the same ones that are going to be actually installing the upgraded measures. So you'll work with the same company from the beginning to the end, and that just reduces the number of handoffs and the opportunities for things to fall through the cracks. So we think that turnkey approach really makes it easier for customers like yourself to do this type of work. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we do have contracted vendors who went out through a competitive bidding process to make sure we got good prices for our customers. They have geographical areas that they are dedicated to serving. So there is a vendor for the Boston region that would cover all of the customers in that region. They will perform no-cost energy assessments. So if you're just sort of casually interested at this point and you want to know more and you are worried that it might cost you something to have them come out, that is not the case. It is no cost to you to have these vendors come out, talk to you, provide some education on the energy efficiency opportunities, and they'll put together a proposal to see how much energy you could be saving at your facility. New for as of last year, we've launched some enhanced incentive programs. So typically we do like 70% of the project cost, but for what we call main streets, which are short-term targeted events, there are higher incentive rates. And then there is a nonprofit offer and a landlord and tenant offer that gets even higher incentives than that. I believe Amar is going to talk about that a little bit further into the presentation. So just teeing that up right now. And then lastly, the customer directed option, which Pat Owens will go into. But at the high level, if you are sitting here thinking like, that's great that you have your contracted vendors, but I always work with, James Electrical, and I want that company to be able to install it. We have a pathway that you can continue to work with vendors that you have a relationship with and you trust those folks. So we try and make it as easy to participate and give you multiple options on how to participate. Okay, next slide. And you may be asking yourself, what is a small business? I know there are as many different definitions as there are organizations that work with small businesses. As far as the Mass Save programs are concerned, we base it on energy usage. So if your company uses less than, or your organization uses less than 1.5 million kilowatt hours annually, and you'd be able to see that on your electric bill. Or if your company uses less than 40,000 therms annually, that's what we would consider a small business. For the most part, you have to be on a commercial meter. One exception to that is the houses of worship. Those organizations, due to some very technical details that date back a couple of decades, houses of worship have the option to be on a residential or a commercial meter. And to make it easier for everybody involved, we've decided that those houses of worship will be served through the small business pathway. So that's just one exception to keep in mind. Outside of those, if you don't fall into that small business category, we have other programs available to other commercial customers. And now back to Amar.
Thank you for that, Zach. Moving forward, this slide just illustrates some of the measures that's covered under the Mass Save program. For refrigeration, this includes ECM motors, and fan temperature and fan controls, and curtains for open coolers. For lighting controls, this includes occupancy sensors of different kinds, daylight harvesting sensors, dimming, and time control so the lights can go on and off at certain times. Custom projects are for out-of-the-box thinking. This is basically things that may not be covered under this slide. As part of the small business process, you'll get a no-cost assessment of your location, and that's going to be covered later. This will help identify any energy efficiency measures, even those that might not be covered under this slide. HVAC control and optimization includes scheduling setbacks, airflow reduction, and improving sequences of operations, which are the brains of the HVAC system, which tell the HVAC system how to operate. Heat pumps, whether air source, ground source, or VRF. Steam and hot water upgrades. These include pipe insulation. So if your pipes are not insulated, this would be something to look into. We have steam trap surveys and steam trap repairs. It's something that we have a lot of businesses do on a regular basis. Besides that, mechanical insulation and water saving measures are also offered under the program. Last but not least, we have our building insulation, which includes spray foam, fiberglass, insulation batting, and includes the air sealing, duct insulation, and duct sealing. We also have a mitigation program where if you have knob and tube wiring or asbestos, we will assist with getting you ready for weatherization through those programs. To give an idea of the impact that the different measures have on your business outside of your electric bill, when it comes to refrigeration, the equipment will help keep your food fresher for longer, so it helps reduce operating costs. So if your business relies on refrigeration equipment, stores, refrigerated warehouses, things of that nature, this is definitely something to look into. LED lights, besides being more cost effective than incandescent lights, they are also more controllable, they're dimmable, they increase productivity, and in a lot of cases, they increase the aesthetics of certain locations. The last statement deals with the custom measures that we spoke about on the last slide. After your efficiency assessment, we can look at any measure to try to find savings and implement that measure, of course, if it's cost effective. So we're just going to talk about how to navigate through the SBEA program. So the first day where you are now is to be engaged and to be referred to the Mass Save Small Business Program, whether introduced through a webinar such as this, or if you decide to call your local PA to ask about our small business programs. From there, you'll be connected with one of our contracted vendors that will assist you with some of the next steps. Step 2 is what we've been speaking about pretty much the whole webinar, is the all-important energy assessment. This is a no-cost assessment to the customer, and this will help identify any efficiency measures that can be implemented at your location. whether it's something that we readily have available in our program or custom measures that we have to calculate the savings for. You'll be presented with a scope of work for the measures that were found. This will include the identified measures and the potential savings for the measures that was identified. Once you agree on which measures you want to implement, you can implement the measures. You'll sign the agreement, schedule the implementation, schedule the installation, and complete the measures. Some measures may need an inspection before or after implementation, and those are handled by our inspection team and by our engineering team. After everything is said and done, Eversource will be invoiced for the incentives directly. This is not a rebate program. We do have a rebate program under small business, but for the SBEA program, it's a direct install program. You do not have to buy the equipment and then submit for a rebate. We're directly billed for the project and the funds go directly to our contractor vendor. And of course, through every step of the process, you'll receive guidance and assistance from your PA and from the contracted vendor. To further illustrate some of the savings, we put together a case study. So we have a house of worship that was covered under one of our enhanced incentive programs. So they received 100% incentive for their project, which included lighting, steam pipe installation, controls, and weatherization. We were happy about the 15,000 therms and 101,000 kilowatts that were saved. They were happy about the $7,000 that they were estimated to save over the lifetime of the project. So next, I wanted to turn it back to Zach to speak about our small business rebate program.
Sorry, I was on mute. So this is available to all commercial customers. It's including small business customers. So our small business customers can participate in any of our commercial pathways, but small business program is available only to small business customers. So the equipment rebate pathway is where you would go out and purchase the equipment, have it installed by any vendor who's capable of doing that. And then through the MassSave website, we have a variety of application forms that you can download and fill out by hand and print and mail in, or a quicker way would be we have a online portal where you can submit that information online and just kind of skips the mailing process and allows for a quicker processing of that. You can see online on the masssave.com/business website that there's a whole host of different types of measures. Some are generally applicable to almost all commercial customers. Those would be like heat pumps, which can do heating and cooling for your space, motors and drives, which would be attached to fans or pumps that move the air or water throughout your space. Then there's specialty equipment. So if you have if you're a restaurant or have a commercial kitchen at your facility, high-end or like highly efficient versions of fryers or induction cooktops, that could reduce your electricity usage at your facility. If you have a laundry facility on site, there are special washers and dryers that can use less energy. So I really encourage everybody to go check out the website, www.masssave.com/business, and look around on there. There's definitely something on there for everybody, and there's very generous incentives on there. Okay, next slide. Okay, and so Amar is going to go into detail on some of the enhanced incentives that I mentioned earlier. Mass Save sponsors do a 3-year planning cycle, and we're right in the middle of a 3-year plan. Last year kicked this off, so we're 1 year into this new offerings, and one of the focuses for this 3-year plan was doing more with small businesses, and in particular small businesses that have not participated at the same rate as the general population. And those include renters. It's just really hard to do some of the deeper measures with renters, so we needed to take a different approach there. And then nonprofit organizations. And nonprofits, any money that's going into their facility is money that's not going into their mission. And so we felt that that was a real need to enhance the incentives for nonprofits as well. So hand it off to Amar.
Thank you, Zach. So one of our first enhancement programs I wanted to speak about is our Main Streets initiative. For our Main Streets initiative, we use a multi-touch marketing approach. So that includes direct mail, PR, and our outbound efforts can include outreach from our CFP teams, which are our consumer first partners, which are different community organizations that we work with to help bring these programs to the customers, which is a large part of our direct customer outreach program, where we go with these PAs in the community with the contracted vendors to speak directly to the customers. And during this time, we offer increased incentives to all the customers covered under the Main Street program or in the Main Street area. So even if you don't fit under one of our other enhanced incentive programs, if there's a Main Streets initiative in your area, you will get the enhanced incentives from the Main Street program. As Zach spoke on, nonprofits is something that we cover to help with the nonprofits, especially the missions that the nonprofits are on. Just like he said, the more money they spend on utilities, the less they have to spend towards what they're actually doing. This enhancement covers nonprofit businesses across Massachusetts. Nonprofits are very unique in the small business community, and this provides incentives of up to 100%, of course, 100% for nonprofits for their energy efficiency projects, but excluding heat pumps. This is a list of some of the eligible nonprofits for the program. It covers a lot of different types of organizations. Our main goal in this program was to assist as much as possible charitable nonprofits. There are a lot of different companies, a lot of different types of companies that can be classified as nonprofits, but don't necessarily fit the profile of a charitable nonprofit or the profile of the nonprofit that we want to help under this program. So as you can see, it covers different forms of 501c3s, C8s, 10s, 19s, which include different religious organizations, fraternal beneficiary societies. When you see veterans organizations, that would be your VFWs and things of that nature. And of course, houses of worship, which may or may not be commercially metered or have a formal 501c3 designation. Now, to speak about our landlord and tenant program, this is a program that I oversee under the Eversource SBEA program. This program provides enhanced incentives for both landlords and tenants in commercial spaces. The enhancement provides up to 100% of project costs for paid energy efficiency measures for small businesses and property owners. Of course, it excludes heat pumps. So when we speak about the eligibility for the program, of course, there's the small business eligibility, but then there's the landlord and tenant eligibility when thinking about what types of spaces or who's in the space. This is how we determine the eligibility for the landlord-tenant program. So for the tenant, the annual usage has to be less than 1.5 million or KWH or 40,000 therms per year, which is our standard small business eligibility threshold. The business must be responsible for paying their own energy costs, and the property owner must not be affiliated with or have a stake in the business, which speaks to the eligibility on the landlord side also. The usage remains the same, standard small business usage, and the landlord must not occupy more than 50% of the location. So if you own the building and you're the sole occupant of the building, you will not be eligible for the landlord-tenant program. There are other incentives that you may be eligible for, but just not under the landlord-tenant program. And under the landlord-tenant program, the owner must sign an attestation form just saying the percent of usage of the building and stating that the owner is not actually involved with the business. It's a straightforward, streamlined program that we have. And because of the wide range of customers that it covers, it's a very far-reaching program. The type of business does not matter for this program: stores, warehouses, refrigerated warehouses, industrial or retail. So if you're eligible under these guidelines, then you can receive the enhanced incentive. There are financing options offered through the program to help further assist with completing your energy efficiency projects. Eversource offers financing directly for Eversource electric customers at the maximum of 100,000 for 2 years. Anything outside of those terms can be financed by NEF, which is the National Energy Improvement Fund. They can support projects over 100,000 as well as gas projects in longer terms than 2 years, which is what is offered by Eversource. Now I'd like to turn it over to Patrick Owens from our Eversource small business team to speak a little bit about our CDO option. Pat.
Hey, Mark. So Zach touched on this earlier. This CDO program, it is our customer direct offer. So basically what it means is you already have your own in-house, well, not in-house electrician, but your own electrician that you've been using for years, or your HVAC, contractor that you've been using for years. And you want to keep using them to do the install because, you trust them, their quality's right. You can pick up the phone if there's an issue and get them back out there to help you out. This program is designed for those contractors to participate in our program, where we will do the majority of the lift of the paperwork and the eligibility criteria, and to be able to get them an incentive. So basically how it works is that your contractor would go out, they would propose a project for you at your facility. They would submit it to our third-party processor. And right now, as Zach mentioned, we are in the second year of the 3-year plan. In that next 3-year plan, that CDO processor for us in National Grid will be the same in this Boston area. So currently right now, there is 2 processors, one for Eversource, which is Willdan, and one for National Grid, which is Rise Engineering. But basically, if you just reach out and your contractor reaches out and says, hey, I have a project, we will direct it to that correct processor to get this project going. But basically, all they need to do is submit their scope of work, their pricing for this project to that processor. That processor will do all the paperwork. They'll get the application started. They will get it into the eyes of us, the utility. We will get an incentive out to that processor, which entails will help, fill out the application for you to sign with that contractor. Now, this is that contractor's job. That third-party processor is not taking that project from them. That is their job. It is their job to install, their job to close out that project and collect all that final documentation. We will then take that, final documentation and close out that project and get that contractor paid. Or if you choose, we can also pay you directly instead of the contractor. That is up between you and the contractor. The advantages of this is they are receiving the same incentives as a contracted vendor, other than a Main Street possibility, which is great. We have heard in the past that it is hard for outside independent contractors to participate. They don't sometimes even know that they can participate. You're hopefully going to be seeing a lot of marketing to be able to get those contractors aware that they are allowed to participate in these programs. There is space for them. We need them. They are already out there in the communities helping out, your fellow small business owners. Those jobs are there. We want you to be able to take advantage of the programs that you are, eligible for. And also an advantage of the program is our CDO processor, when they get the project, they will go out on site and also do a no-cost energy assessment. And they will give that contractor who submits that project the right of first refusal for additional scope that they may find that contractor might not be aware of. So in the meantime, while they're submitting, a project that they know that they can do, they're also learning and educating themselves of what other measures that they could also be doing at the same time. In turn, growing their own business. And then this program, we can process any measure other than heat pumps, because right now heat pumps is a rebate that will go through the rebate process that Zach highlighted before this.
Thank you, Pat. So just to cap it off, when we say in Mass Save, do more, save more, just like we illustrated in our case study, if we can find more energy efficiency measures, we can offer more incentives for those measures, and it results in more savings, both in energy for us and in dollars for the business, resulting in benefits that include not just greater comfort for the business, but also improved operations, comfort, productivity, and aesthetics. So this is a contact page for the small business team for Eversource and National Grid. So for the nonprofits, that's Lord Carey, myself for the Landlord-Tenant Program, Patrick Owens for the CDO Program, and for National Grid, Nicole Piorkowski and Lori Acone. I would like to thank our hosts. I would like to thank my team from Eversource, Patrick, thank you. And I would like to thank Zach Lippert and his team from National Grid, as well as the team from Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce. So thank you to Amber Haskell and Kaija Chalmers for helping to put this entire webinar together. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all. We're going to open up the Q&A portion. If you have a question, there is a Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. Please feel free to put your question in there. We have one that's already come through, and then I have a few questions myself that I'll post to the group. So the first is the tenant, oh, it just disappeared, but tenant landlord program, does that also apply to residential, if someone has a rental property or, either short-term or long-term rental property?
No,
Sorry, Amber,
go ahead.
There were two questions that came through, and I tried typing in answers as they came through. So they moved from open to answered. That's why you saw that disappear there. Amar, if you want to take it, go for it.
No problem. Residential properties are not covered under the small business at the SBEA program. If they are a residential landlord looking for incentives for residents, we do have a program under the Mass Save program. It's just not under the SBEA program. If you want, you can go to the website, the Mass Save website, or even if you would like, you can call someone from one of your local PAs to assist you with that.
Thank you. For a small business who's looking kind of for the quickest fix to save energy, what are some of the common upgrades that business owners can make that are, potentially kind of quick, low cost, but going to have a big impact on their business.
Zach or Pat?
So
Sure. The first place.
oh, go ahead, Zach.
All right, I'll give it a shot. You fill in with anything I missed. First place most people start is lighting. It's got the double effect of reduced energy usage and improved ambiance and just look and feel of your business. So it's duly beneficial for customers. So that's generally seen as a positive for our customers. Along with the lighting fixture changes, there's lighting controls that's going to make sure that the lights are off when everybody's gone. It can either be timers or photo sensors. So when it's sunny and it's right next to the window, you don't need those lights on, they'll turn off. Or occupancy sensors, so that when nobody's in a space, you can, the lights will shut off automatically. Our knowledgeable contractors know which approach is right for which space and how you use the space. So they'll definitely be able to tell you what lights and light controls are available for you. Outside of that, we have smart thermostats. So they can, they're Wi-Fi or programmable. So if you know your business hours are 9 to 5 and you have people coming in half an hour beforehand and staying half an hour after close, you can have the thermostat set so that it turns on right when you want it to. And then at the end of the day, it will, instead of heating it to 70 degrees, it'll allow it to drop to 62, 64, so that when nobody's there, it doesn't need to be as comfortable. Variable frequency drives is another pretty common one. Heating it, cooling with forced air. Those drives are able to provide you that amount of air that you need while using less energy. Heat pumps is another big one for us right now. That's great environmentally. It's not as much of a slam dunk on the economics. It's shifting you from a fossil fuel to electricity, which is generally generated from cleaner sources than burning natural gas on site. Economics will get better, but we're still early in that transition. I think those are the ones we see most commonly. And then depending on the facility itself, you'll see some specific things like auto body shops can do a lot with compressed air. Restaurants, we've got a lot of things specific to restaurants. Commercial refrigeration is a big one. But Pat, anything I may have missed there?
No, you hit it right on the nose.
I know, Zach, you mentioned the last piece was about heat pumps. Can you clarify the process of getting incentives or rebates for heat pumps?
Yeah, so we have multiple pathways. They are the same amount of incentives. And so we've talked about the turnkey pathway, the rebates, and the customer directed option. The turnkey pathway, we want to make sure that across all pathways, heat pumps are the same offering. And it gets a little bit confusing, but the reason we don't support heat pumps in the customer directed option is that it's essentially the same as the rebate pathway, but like any vendor can participate in the rebate pathway just like they could in the customer directed option, and the incentives are the same. The reason we allow it in turnkey is behind the scenes way we have to report to the Department of Public Utilities, and not worth getting into. But to do those the customer would find a vendor. We have a heat pump installer network that has over 1,000 different heat pump installers across the state who are eligible, who have taken training to know how to properly size and install the right equipment for your space. So you're able to see that on MassSave website. Just search for heat pumps and it'll give you all the information on that. Is there anything I may have missed on that one, Pat?
No, just other than it's a very simple process. Once you actually get the project installed, that's when you submit for that rebate. They will make sure that that product qualifies and hits the qualified product list, make sure that there's activated controls if you are doing a partial replacement and keeping your old system. And then you will get paid out that rebate incentive. And it's dependent if you do a regular air source heat pump or a VRF system. The incentive does, well, the rebate amount does change a little bit just because that VRF system is a little bit more costly.
One other thing on the heat pumps is weatherization is a very important aspect. And if you can weatherize your facility first, and by weatherization we mean air sealing and insulation predominantly. So you want to make sure you're isolating your interior space from the outside elements, so that heat pumps are expensive. Just full stop, they are. It's a great product, but it's also expensive. And by weatherizing, you can meet your space needs, heating and cooling needs, with a smaller heat pump. And smaller heat pump means lower cost. So we really encourage everybody to do the weatherization components first. Weatherization we didn't talk too much about in the presentation, but there is both a aspect of that in the turnkey pathway, as well as a commercial rebate option, which is available to all commercial customers. So we highly encourage everybody to do the weatherization aspect first.
Awesome. Another question that came in is, if you guys don't mind, if you could please one more time go over the nonprofit enhanced offering.
So the nonprofit enhanced offering covers all nonprofits under the MassSave program. Again, the focus of the program was for charitable nonprofits. So here are some of the nonprofits covering under it. If you are in a nonprofit and you're unsure, if you're not on this list and you're in a nonprofit and you're unsure of your eligibility, you can always reach out to the to one of your PAs, and they will assist you with finding your eligibility. But it covers a lot of nonprofits, and it covers the entire list of incentives offered by MassSave up to 100%, excluding heat pumps, as Zach and Pat was just speaking about.
And I can add a little more color on this. When we were looking to identify the nonprofits that we felt needed more support, and digging through our past many years of data to see who was not participating at similar levels to the average, we noticed it was the charitable nonprofits. It wasn't all nonprofits. I didn't realize this beforehand, but like country clubs are nonprofits, yacht clubs are nonprofits, and we saw those non-charitable nonprofits still participating at similar rates in years past to for-profit companies. And so we realized that they didn't need the support as much as the charitable nonprofits did. And so that's why we targeted the charitable ones and needed some way to identify what that meant. And so rather than on a case-by-case basis, me, Amar, and Pat being like, I think this one's kind of charitable. Maybe it's not. Like, we just needed a third party who was able to classify these, and IRS already has this classification system, and so that's why we're leaning on these designations.
Makes complete sense. And you learn something new every day. I had no idea that like yacht clubs are technically nonprofits. It's an interesting one and good to know.
Yeah.
If we're thinking about time frames here for small businesses, what's the length of time it would take them from, getting the assessment to, completing the project and having everything paid for? What's the usual length of time, to get from, start to finish, on upgrades? And I assume it depends on the upgrade, right? But like if we're talking averages here.
Normally, from audit to final install is about 90 days, depending on the measure and what equipment is in stock at warehouses. But typically,
Wonderful.
it's about 90 days.
Okay, very nice. And then for if we go to the CDO program for the small businesses, right, who can kind of do the install and assessments themselves, you know, how can a business get more involved in that program? Maybe they do it once with one customer and they're like, "Hey, I'd like to let this kind of be a segment of my business." How do they, continue to work with Eversource and National Grid to be a vendor with you all?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We've actually had a couple of companies start out last year. They started with one project, and once they got going, they were able to be almost our number one vendor, even compared to our contracted vendors. Because all they did was they did one project. They asked us to be able to do a co-branded marketing case study with them that they could use to help sell other projects, which we will do. If anyone has a project, they bring it through the program. It is a success, between the contractor and the customer. We will certainly do a case study with that and highlight that project. We would love to do that. We also, for that particular contractor, we actually did a different type of case study just to highlight their business, to be able to show how they were able to use the incentives to help sell a project compared to another customer who was bidding that project that didn't use incentives. And we were able to highlight that and grow their business that way. So
That's
the biggest
amazing.
thing is find a project, even if it's a small project, bring it forth. We'll let you know if it qualifies. We'll help you try to grow that project for additional measures. And then once that is complete, once you get in the habit of, hey, this isn't that hard to participate in. All I have to do is send, my scope of work and my pricing that I already have for the project in, and somebody else will help me do that paperwork. It's the ease of use that really helps, ultimately grow that contractor to participate more into the program.
Those are all the questions we have today. I would like to thank today's presenters, Amar, Pat, and Zach, for joining us, and for all of you for logging on this morning. If you're interested in attending more learning opportunities, whether they be live or webinars, you can find out more by going to gbccfoundation.org. If you or another small business is looking to talk with a business advisor to better understand some of the challenges your business is facing and get support in your local community, we have a program called First Call, and you can sign up for First Call again by going to gbccfoundation.org. Next week, January 22nd, we will be hosting an in-person session on rethinking your revenue stack with Oak Lane. It will be at our Chamber Foundation offices in Post Office Square in Boston. If you are interested in attending that session, we still have spots available. Again, you can sign up at gbccfoundation.org. Thank you again to today's presenters as well as the State Street Foundation for supporting these webinars. I hope you all have a great day and the great rest of your week.
And there were some links added to the chat, both for the Mass Save website as well as the resources Amber was mentioning there. From the Mass Save perspective, we've thrown a lot of data and information at you today. If you're overwhelmed and just where to get started, the link I added to the chat on the Mass Save website, reach out, ask for an assessment, and we will provide white glove service, walk you through it. The resources are there for you to help you optimize your energy usage. We want to work with you. Please reach out. We're here to help you. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.